Hello and welcome to Ask Your Inspector from Scott Home Inspection. My name is Joe, and today I'd like to talk about one of my favorite subjects, Boulder County's BuildSmart program and some of those requirements. Maybe this video will be the first in kind of a series that kind of explains some of the different parts of, how they have incorporated HERS ratings for compliance through the BuildSmart. What I want to focus on today are the retrofit measures. So if you look at the BuildSmart from Boulder County, it's their energy codes from 2015. They lay out a few pathways where they're kind of trying to determine the scope of the project, how much money you're pumping into the project, and then there's certain criteria that you have to fulfill along the way. And if you're looking at some of these tables, something that kind of keeps coming up are the retrofit measures. So they've provided this handy sheet, figure N1101.13.3, parentheses 2, options for additions, alterations, remodels, and repairs, retrofit measures. And what I'd like to do is kind of one by one go through these and kind of explain the most common interpretations of these requirements, and then also kind of my personal take on some options that we see that can meet these criteria. So, for instance, let's say your work is a project with a valuation greater than $50,000. And then from there, let's say you had 3 retrofit measures. Okay, you got to have 3 of these things to comply. So you look at this list and pick 3 that fit. The one important takeaway even at this point is knowing that if the house already has one or more of these features, you can apply for those for compliance with the BuildSmart. So if we went through the whole property and we found that there was a radon mitigation system, boom, you got one. So let's take a look at this list of features and start kind of discussing them. So replacing the furnace or boiler with a condensing appliance. Condensing ultimately means high efficiency. You can get furnaces or boilers that are lower efficiency. They would have a metal flue because the flue needs to be metal because the exhaust coming out of the unit is so much hotter. When you get a much higher efficiency unit, you don't need to vent it with a B vent or metal anymore. You can vent it with PVC. So that's kind of your biggest kind of visual indicator of, what kind of a system are you dealing with when you're looking at a furnace or a boiler. Is it venting with metal or is it venting with PVC? If it's venting with PVC, it is a condensing unit, a high efficiency unit. Boom, you can check that one. A furnace replacement or a boiler replacement, sometimes they're necessary. It makes a lot of sense to just roll that in with whatever project you're doing anyway. But that might be a little bit more of an expensive proposition to just satisfy a retrofit requirement. Same goes for the water heater, replacing it with a condensing appliance. Most water heaters, storage tank style units will have that exhaust flue off of the top, and that's B vent. So it's usually like an atmospheric draft style unit. That B vent is set up above the top of the storage tank to allow fresh air into the unit as it exhausts. If you were going to replace the water heater with a tankless unit, say, it could even be a storage style unit with a draft fan on the top that vents with PVC. That would satisfy that retrofit requirement. The third one, air sealing. Most projects in Boulder County, when you're putting an addition on it or doing some significant work on the inside, they're going to require post-construction blower door testing. And that post construction requirement is going to be 7 ACH, and that's just across the board 7. New construction standards on a new home would be 3 ACH. So you can see there's actually quite a bit of leeway in those testing requirements. So what you're doing with this third retrofit measure is you are electing to make the house tighter than that 7 ACH requirement across all projects, and you're saying, no, we're actually going to shoot for 5. So maybe when you do the energy assessment and you run the blower door test and you find the house is already at 3 or 4 ACH, then you can reasonably assume that post-construction it's going to be at least the same, maybe even better, that you could satisfy that 5 ACH requirement. The electric vehicle charging receptacle, that is, it speaks for itself, provide at least one level 2, which is a 240 volt electrical vehicle charging receptacle outlet, most often installed in the garage. Balanced mechanical ventilation. The operative word there is balanced. Your exhaust fans in your bathrooms are mechanical ventilation. If you have a fresh air intake installed in the utility room, that is not mechanical, that's passive ventilation, but a house always is kind of breathing. The idea is that as you tighten up a house to limit uncontrolled air exchange, nobody wants a drafty house, that as you tighten the house, you kind of need to supplement it with mechanical ventilation. So the operative here is balanced mechanical ventilation. That's where we're talking about, full HRV or ERV cabinet installations. It can be a little pricey to retrofit that into a house. But when you do have a much tighter house with a really solid envelope, it is in the best interest of the comfortability of the inside of the house, and also for the energy performance of the house to have a dedicated balanced mechanical ventilation strategy. But not all balanced mechanical ventilation systems are the same. Instead of your larger HRV or ERV cabinet, you could elect to install something maybe a little simpler, but still also will check the box, a spot ERV, which is, kind of a glorified bath fan. Instead of a bath fan, which just does dedicated exhaust, a spot ERV is like that, except it also has an intake line. So it will do that kind of balanced mech vent. And a spot ERV is going to be way cheaper than like a full ERV or HRV cabinet install. The water efficiency retrofits kind of speak for themselves. You choose one of these 2 smaller options. All toilets, bathroom faucets, and shower heads are going to be low flow units. Or alternatively, you could satisfy this requirement by having an Energy Star certified washer and dishwasher. The radon mitigation system, I already commented on that. An active or passive system with fan location pre-wire. So every county in Colorado is rated high risk for radon. We see tons and tons of radon mitigation systems. Most of them are not terribly expensive, relative to your, $100,000 project, to get one of those systems installed and retrofit into a house. PV install, PV being photovoltaics, it's a solar system. Minimum size is 30% of annual electrical consumption. That's kind of an excessive feature to check just simply to satisfy retrofit measures. More often the PV systems are incorporated into like something like a HERS rating. Or maybe the existing property already has a PV system. You could check that box as well. And then one of my favorites, conditioning the crawl space. You just get a ton of bang for your buck by putting a good vapor barrier over the crawl space soil, closing off the vents that allow passive ventilation into the crawl space, sealing those up tight, and then putting perimeter insulation around the inside walls of that crawl space. It can do a lot for indoor air quality, certainly for energy retention. It can make the house just way more comfortable all around, and more energy efficient. So that's one that you'll really will see dividends on that. So that covers the 9 retrofit measures. And I'd hope that we could maybe continue producing some videos that further explain some of the BuildSmart requirements in another video. But if you have any questions, please reach out to us at scotthomeinspection.com. We have materials there for you to review, different blog posts and different video features. But otherwise, thank you for your time. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.